The point we're trying to bring up is that at least to the extent that Yeshua was 100% human, he confesses that he didn't know everything. At least he didn't know the day that he was going to return to planet Earth. Although we do have John recording that Peter said, Lord, you know everything, and this is a post-resurrection body, so perhaps it's a little bit more than just a romantic rhetoric where he says, you know everything, I love you, maybe it's a little bit more than that, but maybe it isn't. We don't want to read too much into the text. So that's the part on Jesus knowing everything. And now let's turn to the last one, which is easy to argue. Again, every Trinitarian and Unitarian would probably agree with the same conclusion reached by Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 10 and 11. Paul says, these things God has revealed to us through the Spirit, right? You can go back and catch the context earlier. I don't need to bring it up now about what Paul's talking about, but you can go back and read about it earlier on your own. But he says in verse 10, these things God has revealed to us through the Spirit. Why? For the Spirit searches everything, even the depths of God. And then listen, he continues, in verse 11, for who knows a person's thoughts except the spirit of that person, which is in him? And from that argumentation, that line of reasoning, Paul can state, so also no one comprehends the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. We've already established that God knows everything, and every good Trinitarian and Unitarian agrees that God has no limitation in knowledge. He has no information limitation. He knows everything. Therefore, if the Spirit of God knows the thoughts of God, and if God knows everything, then it concludes that the Spirit also knows everything, because the Spirit comprehends the thoughts of God, which are limitless. I think everyone would agree there that the Spirit of God knows everything as well. So that's our look at the triadic passages or Trinity passages. Not really triadic, I should say. My definition of triadic passage is a passage that mentions Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in some way, shape, or form in one statement from Paul or from some other Bible author. That's a triadic passage. These aren't triadic passages. These are just passages where we're looking at this idea of God as a Trinity. So with that, we can close our discussion on exploring the Shema, discussions on the issues of Trinity. And next week, we'll be poised to look at this particular set of verses where we look at it's God the Father who sanctifies us as believers. It's God the Son who sanctifies us as believers. It's God the Holy Spirit who sanctifies us as believers. Who sanctifies us? God, the Son, or the Spirit? The answer is yes. We'll look at that next week, okay?